This is the new local homestead option sales tax, which is designed to offset homestead property tax. They may use up to a full penny in any number of pennies to roll back homestead property tax, and that is eligible in tax year 2027. So that is what the mechanism that would be used to replace for some that chose to use it for homestead property tax. On part 6, the conversation begins on the assessments. That is the other bucket that may be used with regard to revenue for the cities and counties and schools. You can use capital improvements for special assessments regarding with a referendum for our schools, our cities, and our counties. You can use critical services or essential services for our cities and counties through a local act. And if you look starting on page 31, that's part 7. Then you get into how we put a little bit of some guardrails on revenues for non-homestead, being that we're exempting homestead property taxes. Mentions that it is either 3% or CPI, whichever is greater for that given year. There's some exemptions for bonded indebtedness and for emergencies. That's section 7, and I believe it runs all the way through to section 8. And then section 8 would pick up for our schools the amount that we would add to the digest for their exemptions. So they would qualify regarding local fair share and equalization formulas based on the changes in that section. Finally, you see in 8.2, it sets up a study committee regarding the funding formula for our schools that I know has been looked at over the years, but we are still being asked to maybe address some things. Chairman Irwin and Chairman Dubnik have both looked at that language and feel like that is an appropriate study for us to undertake. And then in section 8.3, 8.4, and 8.5, we talk a little bit about how if somebody is to, what kind of duty they have regarding their homestead exemption. So is the duty of them to let the government tax commissioner know if they become ineligible. And then in section 8.4, it is what kind of penalty if they fail to do so and they no longer qualify. And then section 8.5, it sets up a database from which we can review that. And so when people move from county to county, that would be a statewide database. So again, I think looking at this, what we have seen regarding property tax oftentimes is confusing for our taxpayer. They get a bill at the end of the year. The assessors say that, well, we're basing this off of market value. You need to talk to the millage setters, and then when you talk to the millage setters, they say go look at what the assessors are they're raising the market value, so you have an increased assessment rate, and you kind of get caught in the middle as the taxpayer. And this sets up some more accountability and transparency with regard to the way those services are billed out potentially. It allows the homestead to go to a full 100% homestead exemption for our homeowners and our taxpayers, I should say. And then it puts some governors and caps on non-homestead property tax. So if you look at the overall tax burden that we've seen over the last few years, this would help reimagine how local governments can operate. And again, we have worked very closely with those folks in a very collaborative way, and have worked to try to add some things in even at the last minute here that that they have asked for. So be happy to try to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman, if I can.
Thank you, Chairman Blackman. I know that you have spent a lot of time listening to a lot of interested parties. I appreciate, and I know the taxpayers around our state appreciate the work that you've put in, the countless hours and the conversations you've had trying to balance all these needs. So appreciate the work you've done to get us here. Looks like we have a question from someone who understands a little bit about local government funding. Representative Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, is it not true, we've had a lot of discussions about process by which you have to backfill the homestead portion of property tax from both the county, city, and the school side. And then is it not true that because this thing can be phased out, you don't have to backfill that full amount in year one? You can do it over a 5-year history of time to basically have time to backfill that amount over those 5 years. Is that not true?
That is correct. It's just not an immediate shift. It gives a runway for local governments to adopt whatever, pathway they choose. For instance, I mean, I think, we've asked and we've seen Columbia County, they have some economic development, and they think they can not only eliminate homestead property tax, but their entire property tax based on one piece of economic development. So I think a lot of this conversation has been, what tools can we provide for those local governments that want to do this, that want to do it now, and they don't have the tools available to them to do this? Isn't that true in your particular county? If we were to enable this L host, that y'all are able to do this rather quickly. I hate to question with a question, but
yeah, that is true.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Dickey.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. And this is a lot in this bill. I got one to get into the weeds. Line 762, that if a person fails to pay an assessment by the year that it's assessed, I'm thinking some type of fire fee or garbage, then it's the next year they don't get the homestead. That could be pretty punitive. People being a little late or forgetting or some kind of oversight and not pay that fee. It could be 5-10 times what the fee is by losing a homestead the next year. That's something we might want to consider
that's a good point. We'll duly noted. Yes, sir. Duly noted. Good point. I think we have been asked to have some level of enforceability, and there's due process. This is one option available to local governments that they've asked for. But yes, sir. Good point. Fair point. Need
some sort of regret. I get it, but that doesn't really give.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Point taken.
Mr. Chairman, it looks like you've done a pretty good job. It looks like we're about to move on. Well, hang on a minute. Got one question coming in from Representative Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, isn't it true? I'm trying to think back. This is my 25th session off and on, and I think we've all tried to work together with different groups. I know I used to be a county commissioner, and we've worked together with that association and GMA and all, and the same people that vote for us vote for local officials. So I just think we can make this work. Everybody's going to have to give a little bit. I know you've changed the bill I don't know how many times. I mean, you've listened to people. You've personally talked to some of my local officials. So I think that's the way you get good legislation, and that's what you've done, and other members of the committee. So I appreciate it. I think we've got a plan, and I hope we can stick to this plan and take this thing forward, because I think you've altered it several times, another substitute, and we've got to give those taxpayers some relief. I mean, we're all taxpayers, and I got people at home. I represent Harris, part of Muskogee, part of Troop. They're looking for us to help them, we can't keep waiting. We've got to do it. So isn't all that true? Thank you.
Well, I think we have seen over time, I mean, in my tenure here, we have seen certain exemptions and deductions and credits go from, income taxpayers to businesses to, just about everything. And I think it's time we did something for the taxpayer. And again, I think that again, we're not talking about, this being any other issue than a Georgia issue. I mean, I heard that mentioned again today. I mean, we're not a Republican versus Democrat, local versus state, or House versus Senate. I mean, this is about Georgians and about more of them being able to realize part of the American dream and start building some generational wealth, and I think this is a great step in that direction. We see other states moving on this. We also see other states that are not necessarily being as respectful of local governments and the funding mechanisms that they provide to them. So I think that is something else that we can continue to build upon, but we've worked really hard to accomplish. And the speaker's insisted that we do that through his leadership. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Holcomb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you have a sense of how many counties or governmental units that would be impacted by this would not have the same level of resources or even a deficit situation if we switched over to this model? Do you have any sense of how many that would be true for?
Well, with if you look back, Mr. Representative, and you look at the property tax, and I mean, the data is sometimes pretty hard to get, but if you total it up on DOR's website, the total digest in 2019 was about $13 billion. If you look at it in 24, it's about $6.4 billion more than that, about $19.4 billion. And if you look at what sales tax brought in during that same differential, it was about $3.5 billion more in the 2024 cycle than 19. So I guess I can't readily say for sure what areas would be able to do something out of sheer growth in the digest or extemporaneous growth, who would need assessments per se, and who would be able to do it with sales tax. But some combination of that three should make most everybody whole. And if they don't, we've added back in this grant relief program that is funded at no less than 1/10 of a penny of percent of sales tax at the state level. And what we've determined that it would require more sooner rather than later is about $170 million, and that would provide somewhere $200 to $250 million on an annual basis to backfill.
Okay, and that was, you anticipated my second question was on the grant fund program. Would that need to be something that the local governments would request and apply for and justify based on
That's
their
correct.
economic circumstances?
That's correct.
Okay. And the expected sum is approximately $170 million to start with?
That would be a calculated shortfall if you're looking at current, but again, when you have a 6-year window and then the capability based on other exemptions to extend that out a couple of more years, we don't know what that would look like then. So that's why we roll it up from what a seventh 0.07 of a penny would be. This is 1/10 of a penny, and then of course you typically have some additional growth. And
Okay, and then my last question, if I can, I think in one of our earlier conversations on this.
I didn't fix something, did I?
No. I raised the issue about the impact on bonds, which are long-term debt instruments, and I do see that. And I think that you said that there was language regarding bonds put back in. I see some notations from 55 to 58. Can you give just a little bit of color on that?
We were just asked to exempt certain bonds from the cap calculation, so that any of that bond indebtedness could still be retired using, property tax if it got to that point. Most, as I understand it, are backed up by other funding mechanisms, but as the backup source. So that was the adjustment there.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Holcomb.
Chairman Corbett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Blackman, for bringing the bill. I got a good email from a constituent today talking about what you're addressing in this bill. Very much in favor of what you're doing here, and it goes on to say, he paid off his mortgage for the second time. He refinanced 15 years, and goes on to say about now he still has to pay taxes on that into perpetuity for the rest of his life. It's not paid off. And he talks about seniors, how burdensome that is. But he ends this, says that homes that are debt-free should not be used as collateral for government taxes and leverage for perpetual rent payments. The state must find a better way to fund government budgets than homes needs, and soon. So I think that's a common thing. And I want to just tell you, thank you for working with me. I know you want to charge me rent on staying in your office down there talking to Brett.
Just a cup of coffee in the morning, Mr. Chairman.
Figure out how to make the numbers work, but our constituents need this, and I thank you for bringing the bill, and I think you've got a way for us to move forward and make this work.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I could just get a cup of coffee from you every now and again, y'all make some good coffee down there in your office.
I don't anytime you want that.
I don't think anybody gets here any earlier than him, do they?
Well, that's for sure. Yeah, nobody.
Chairman Corbett, thank you for reminding us about why the Speaker wanted us to pursue this path, because there are people across our state that are hurting, dealing with affordability crisis, and this is a great way to help them with that. Representative Prince.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On or about, I think, line 982, talks about this QBE formula and things like that. Is there, is that something we could possibly study, I guess, prior to this, to maybe we won't need to reduce the cost or help?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I believe you're speaking to that very portion of the bill that we have put in here that we've talked about from the beginning, that would study the funding formula and possibly look at some simplification along with economically disadvantaged districts and higher poverty areas across our state.
But
Good question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
okay, thank you.
All right, Chairman Blackman, it looks like you have exhausted all the questions. The bill is now before the committee. We've had 3 subcommittee hearings, and we've heard extensive testimony. We have had a robust questioning process. So we're now before the committee. What's the pleasure of the committee? We have a motion and we have a second. All right, any discussion? All right, seeing no discussion. All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 1116, LC 339886, committee substitute, make me know by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? All right. All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 1116, make me know by raising your right hand. All those in favor, all those against the passage of House Bill 1116, please raise your right hand. All right. Your bill passes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you to the committee. Thank you very much, members.
No other business before the committee today, Mr. Chairman. We'll stand adjourned. Stand adjourned.